Dynamite Download.
Dynamite Download, your home for all positive coverage with all elite wrestling.
You guys, positive energy.
This reality, like, it is me. Like,
Who let this guy in here?
This is what pro wrestling's supposed to feel like.
I'm saying I have a better record than Kenny Omega and Samoa Joe, and now I'm going to have to wrestle them.
I've never seen someone able to break down, like, wrestling like he does.
I said, Mariah May. She said, who?
Because I'm so driven. And I'm so moved to like what I want to do.
Versus Brian Keith match.
it's awesome.
That's so cool. You've got like these creepy-ass dudes.
Oldest ride, longest line.
I was like deep diving into like cults.
My real story does connect with a lot of people.
I never say never about anything.
Yeah.
Back to do an interview with those guys. You know why? Because they spread positivity about AEW.
Welcome to Dynamite Download.
Hey, welcome at Dynamite Download, and joining us is a legend. And whoa, what you gonna do? Look at that. Blast from the past. Look at the
this is a blast from the past. This is going through my old wardrobe of backyard wrestling. SPD name has been with me for a long time, and I found these nice little tassels from my old federation, which was XHW, Extreme Hardcore Wrestling. Look at that.
All right, let's get it. Let's do the SPD. Ready? SPD. Yeah, look at that. There you go. There's the money clip right there.
There we go. That is right.
And what's up, Mr. Brent? The Real Talk Brent Ross right there. He's and then we've got, of course, the Raz Love It SPD.
Thank you, guys. It feels good to be back. I felt so lonely last Thursday working. I was working and chiming in on my phone, and I was like, oh man, I miss you guys. But it feels good to be back. Let's get this back here. We're ready to roll. Episode 122. It's almost 123. I was talking to someone the other day, and I was like, yeah, I've been doing this podcast for this many years or this long, and we were watching AEW, and I was like, wow, we're at 122 already. I'm like, that's a grind. And that's not even counting the special episodes that we do, like our drafts, our pre-shows, and things like that. So a lot of good stuff that we've been producing, and a lot of great stuff on the horizon. And, speaking of that, I will be passing through. It's looking more and more like SPD will be representing Dynamite Download at Collision and Battle of the Belts this Saturday in state of Kentucky. So work is going to be allowing me to pass through, and I think I'm going to make a little pit stop, weather and everything permitting, timing, and go see some Collision, some great wrestling live in person.
All right. Let us know in the chat. Should SPD wear that shirt? Should I
wear my Dynamite Download shirt, or should I wear my
no, you got to wear that. You got to
grade writing SPD shirt right there.
Is there a way we could put a Dynamite Download sticker on that?
I do have stickers, so I could probably put like a couple stickers on there. I don't have any screen prints that I could, but I definitely could put some stickers, and I'll pass out some stickers.
I think yes, but you're SPD. I think let us know in the comments. Do you think he should go full gear? Up. The Full Tilt Deb says most definitely wear that shirt, and they're going to put
approval for SPD.
What if it turns into a Lance Archer spot where he ends up grabbing you and using you as a weapon? I'd
welcome it.
Yeah, Brent Ross agrees. You should go full gear.
I got to find the tights.
Oh yes.
No, I never wore tights. It was jeans with holes in them, and I had a hoodie as well. If you follow us I'll post some of it on Twitter later, some of the old gear that I found. But while you're talking, I'll pull up an old photo of young SPD, the champion, while we're chatting here. But while you're doing that, while I'm looking for this photo, why don't you pull up the most recent standings of season 2?
We need to talk about the draft standings. Let's talk about the Double or Nothing draft. right, and let's take a look. Look at this. We have Full Tilt Deb and Mindrunner tied for first place.
The barn
12
burner.
and 12. And nipping at our heels is the Crayfish and SPD, 10 and 10. Look at this. Look at how many pairs we've got. We've got FTD and mine, Crayfish and SPD, and then we've got the Real Talk Brent Ross and Miss Courtney at 5 and 5. But the real battle that everyone's talking about, the real battle that everybody's really impressed with, is for the first time, ladies and gentlemen, right, that's right. The leftover taker is on the board. And the battle between Bobby and Brian, it's looking like this. It's like, here's Bobby. Bobby's feeling pretty good with his 2 points, but look behind him. Look who's coming to give him the Dynamite tombstone.
Always killing it with the graphics, man. I love it. Great job on those, by the way, mine.
Thank you. And I got before we get going any further in the draft, I got to give a shout out to Miss Courtney and Brent Ross. Been my tag team partners. Not only last week, we had an awesome episode, Dynamite Download, but they have been helping me. We've now dubbed ourselves the Dynamite Club Gold.
I saw that.
Three
I love
of us, and we've been really rocking it with the Mission Pro Wrestling interviews. If you haven't had a chance, go check out our YouTube page. Tiffany Nieves, La Princesa, JP Harlow has actually managed to charm Courtney into being a fan. We recently talked to Maya World. We have Friday night at 9. We're going to be talking to Kelly and Tita, and we're recording an interview over the weekend with Miranda Alize, a.k.a. the Lucha Baddie, the Lucha Mommy. Yeah. And there's so much more going on. Izzy Moreno as well. There's so much going on. It's going to be exciting. We'll check it out. But again, we've got a lot to talk about here because we're talking about Dynamite, and we've got a lot to go. So let's just really quickly look at what we got here. I think anything can happen. You know, by the end of this week,
anything can happen.
These numbers
it's very close. Different. We got a lot of wrestling. Hey, there's SPD, the champ.
Look at that guy.
Who's that?
Hey, wait a minute. Hey, wait a second. All he's missing is a jean jacket and some sunglasses.
That's
and
right.
His thumb going like this. But look, you're already doing the SPD.
That's right.
That's
I cut off the shirt, but it was a picture of me doing the SPD on my shirt.
Hey,
so
save that picture for the Dark Side of the Ring episode of Dynamite Download.
Yeah. I got some footage, man. There's actually some of our old wild matches on YouTube somewhere, but that's for another another story there. But Dynamite, man, kicking things off. A lot of hype for this episode coming up on the heels of an awesome week of wrestling with the Ring of Honor Supercard. Obviously, WrestleMania, we can't go without talking about that. You know, I know we're AEW focused, but I got to give the kudos to WWE producing an awesome weekend of shows. And congrats to Cody, one of my favorites of all time, finishing the story. An awesome 2-night main events for him, both of them. So really happy for him and the way that turned out. But our champ Samoa Joe kicked things off and finished the show. You had another title match with the Cope Open. Then you had a lot of in-between stuff, a lot of stuff building into Dynasty, which I texted you and Crayfish that I honestly think Dynasty is starting to shape up to be one of my favorite pay-per-view cards ever. You know, it's almost an SPD special. I mean, you're looking at the Young Bucks versus FTR 3, you know, winner's going to be 3-time tag team champ. Okada versus Pac, which I'm just drooling in like salivating, wanting to see Okada just put on a barn burner. One of my all-time favorites, Danielson, and one of my new favorites, Ospreay, going head-to-head. Joe versus Strickland, the rise of Strickland. You have our one of our all-time favorites, Thunder Rosa, trying to regain her title. So a lot of great stuff for the card so far, and that's just starting still. Willow versus Julia. So I'm really loving this card.
Yeah, and they've really, other things aside, they've really been developing some good stories, and it's there's been some stuff that I've kind of been like, I don't know about, but I do think it was kind of a cool quote unquote swerve. That Swerve attacked Joe at the very beginning, and that kind of, and it did feel like it threw the show off a little bit, but I think that was on purpose. I think that was the feeling, was that there was a lot of cool stuff going on, and I think you're right. It's like something about when you're not, like when I'm not expecting a pay-per-view to wow me, it knocks me off my feet.
Right.
And then it's when it's a pay-per-view that I'm excited about. That
was just a countdown I had to show.
Yeah, it's okay, but it's not always as it's not always going to knock me off my feet. But there's been a lot of stuff, particularly last night. I like the direction that they're going with a lot of stuff, and I have, again, we have our prediction show coming up, but I think that it's going to be quite the pay-per-view. It's definitely going to be worth checking out.
Absolutely.
Yes, I mean, and some people say, where's the story build? For some of these things, I'm like, yeah, okay. Where's the story build to taking me to a steak dinner? I mean, you're going to put Copeland versus Cero Miedo?
Oh,
sign me up. I mean, all day long. I want like this all time. Let's get Pac against Copeland. Let's get all these guys.
That's the point of an open challenge. It could be anybody. There is no storyline.
Yeah.
You don't need it. But they at least hinted at it.
I'd like to see more, some more indie folks coming in, but I do like that they're also including some of the veterans, some of the homegrown, the AEW mainstay veterans.
Right.
I'd like, Penta coming in. Like I said, I'd like to see Pac. If he wasn't injured or who knows what's going on with him, I think Ricky Starks versus Copeland, that's a feud I'd love to see.
Exactly. They would battle on the mic very, very well. I was happy to see this match because I'm a huge fan of Lucha Brothers, as you all know, and especially, I mean, both guys. It's one of those tag teams, Phoenix and Penta, can both stand alone as single stars and really succeed. I mean, former champ himself, Ray Phoenix, and then they can just shine together. And Penta, man, always a showman, always putting on an awesome match, always putting on a physical match, and loved his outing. You gotta. You're mute. Can you hear me?
I bumped my mute button. Sorry.
Oh, there we go.
I was just gonna say, and I'm sorry. Maybe I was mute on purpose. Maybe to not make me squeal like Peter Brady. But the thing about the Lucha Brothers, they're kind of like the Bucks. They're kind of every match is unique. They come up with some unique, like set or something every time. And and again, a lot of times it depends on who they're wrestling. A lot of times it depends on what they're doing. But like Penta makes every match memorable. He plays very well. He's a lot like Moxley in that he plays very well off of whoever he's wrestling. So he can kind of play off of their strengths. Mm-hmm. And he seems, and he's so fun, and then my feeling on Adam Copeland, I feel like he's a kid in the candy store with AEW. I mean, he's competing with Will Ospreay as who's the happiest person to be in AEW, because just the two of them, they come out, they're just big smiles. I don't think you could take him. I don't think you could take him away. I mean, you'd have to drag him away from AEW at this point.
And that's really essential to be a backbone of AEW roster. That's 100% needed. Well, in any locker room, period. And it's great to see it at Copeland. To bring back to Lucha Brothers, one of the many reasons, but one of the big ones is how I fell in love with Ray Phoenix so much, because every one of his matches I saw a new move or something new and something totally different I never saw. And Penta is very similar to that. And Penta definitely is a ring general, definitely can, control a match at all times, really adapt to his surroundings. And Copeland, it just, you nailed it. I mean, it looks like he's having an absolute ball having these matches, and I'm glad he's on Team SPD, that we're going to get it. The trios match, I liked his backstage promo where he's asking if his guys were all right. What did he call the team?
Oh yeah, he called it the Chicken
Rated R, the
Rated R Chicken Club or something. Yeah. Oh man, that was awesome though, and how that whole scene backstage with them and Willow and Stokely seemed like it was a complete ad lib, but it felt real, and All right, we've got the rated R superstar and we got the G-rated Super Smiles. I'm calling this team the double feature. This is team double feature.
I like it.
This is the double feature. You got the kids show and you've got the rated R show. This is like the double feature at Blockbuster. You get one movie for the kids and you get one for you and the missus. This is what this is. I'm loving this. I love how Stokely, and I'm not mad at him, how Stokely's like, all right, Willow versus Edge for the TNT title. It's a it doesn't say the TNT title is only for the men's division. I mean, granted, the rankings suggest that.
Right.
But I want to see Willow versus Edge at some point. That'd be pretty tremendous. I more want to see Willow versus Brody King in a bark off. Because what was funny was Brody King's known for his whoo, whoo, whoo.
Right.
But it was back when Willow was first dealing with the Julia Hart spit, and she started doing the woo, woo, woo also. So people started doing that during her matches. And so now we got to have that moment where the two of them face off.
Right.
And you just hear the whole crowd going, woo, woo, woo. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I would love to see it face to face with them. It'd be pretty fun. And when this happened, we tweeted, we're like, please give us a mixed tag match. And boom, 5 minutes later, after we tweeted it, it was like booked in that backstage segment. Really unique. And the announcer said this is the first time ever a TNT champion versus a TBS champion in a match. And so you got both titles on both sides. Really unique. And AEW hasn't had a mixed tag in a while. And so I think this was a smart booking. If you read some of the stuff that happened on Rampage, we'll see how this match turns out, because potential injury to Julie Hart, who knows? It's all rumors. We don't know the facts behind that, but we'll see.
I hope she's okay. But then again, I think it's time for Willow to run with the TBS title. So maybe they'll do something like they did with Jamie Hayter, where Julia works through the injury and then takes some time off. I don't know.
Right.
Julia has, again, really impressed me in so many ways, not just in her in-ring ability. And, back when Dark was still a thing, I saw her growth from when she first really started adopting this Stevie Nicks Instagram witch character to, her in-ring skills were improving. She was taking on a lot of very veteran indie wrestlers and some not indie wrestlers, some of the folks there, but also her promos have been tremendous. And I know she's probably working with Malachi and Brody and them, and there's other coaches, but she's really been she really has compelling video segments. And I think
very good cinematic.
She does a great job with a lot of that. And she is definitely somebody that her stock has gone way up. And on her coattails, I've said this before, I apologize to Sky Blue. I've really come around with Sky Blue. I hadn't before, but she's doing well too. But you got to give it to Julia. I hope she's okay, at least for the match. I am hoping to see Willow come out on top.
Right.
But I don't know if Willow's going to have the support she thinks she does at the end of that match.
I want to talk about, keep the women's theme going, about the champagne toast with Toni Storm and Thunder Rosa. Very, very interesting the way that turned out. I expected some fisticuffs to happen. But man, some of the most disrespectful stuff that you can do. We saw Britt Baker do it to Thunder Rosa before, and then wiping the face paint off her face. But this is really allowing us to, where we kind of felt like Thunder maybe was turning heel a little bit. Toni Storm is leaning into that baby face, but this definitely really showed us that Toni Storm's true colors, that she's the heel in this story and Thunder Rosa is the baby face. And it's great how we're getting those backstage promos from Thunder and others, especially with this match, to really remind us that she never lost the belt. Remind us that she was a former champ. She had to relinquish it. So I think this is one of those. This has to be the time where she regains gold. I know they've been building it. I wish they built it more. But they're doing a good job the final few weeks leading up to it. But I think now is the time you really got to strike it in for Thunder to get her gold back. Now that she's healthy and undefeated.
It's now or never. And here's the thing. Here's the thing too, from a booking standpoint, is there's so much story, juicy, mouth-watering story available if Tony loses to Thunder at Dynasty, because now you've got you've got already built in. You've got the Deonna Purrazzo versus Thunder. There's clearly the misunderstanding that they're going to have. There's the feud, but you've got Tony can now become this complete wreck, and they can continue this. A lot of background here is the influence to her act is from All About Eve. It's a classic movie from Turner Classic Movies. But the whole storyline is it's this veteran actress that starts getting washed up, and then this young up and coming understudy takes over and overshadows her. And that's kind of what I think's going on with Toni Storm and Mariah May. And plus they added, from Stardom, her Club Venus friend. This is for those that may not be familiar with Stardom, but Nina came in and to the rescue with Mariah May and planted a kiss on her. And that's bothering Toni Storm because Toni Storm is very possessive of her quote unquote minions. But that's a whole storyline there. I want to talk about Thunder Rosa.
I'll show that real quick.
Oh yeah, they're right there. And there's a history. Look up Club Venus. That's where Mariah May really got her big push in popularity before coming to AEW. But this is like, there's 3 things you can do in AEW to really incur the wrath of the AEW fans in the women's division. Number 1 is beating up Rio. That's number 1. You beat up Rio, you've got to pay. Number 2, I think, is wiping off Thunder Rosa's face paint. That's number 2 that you'll F around and find out. And then number 3, I think, is just calling someone a bitch. I mean, that's in any wrestling maneuver. But just behind beating up Rio, is messing with Thunder Rosa's face paint. Tony's got a fight coming. Tony's gonna get full tilt Thunder Rosa. It's gonna be beautiful. Thunder's gonna win back her championship. She never lost it, so she's gonna keep it. And then I think we're going to see Thunder versus Deonna Purrazzo. I think that's going to be the build for Double or Nothing.
Yeah, or even a rematch with Mariah May or something, or Mariah May feuds with Toni Storm. But I'm loving what Mariah May has been doing. But I completely agree. You see Thunder Rosa right here with a towel getting her face paint rubbed off. Definitely one of the most disrespectful things. And you just poked the bear about 10 times there. So you did something that you should never do, and you really ignited a fire under Thunder Rosa. Not necessarily that it needed to be lit, but you lit one. You better be running for the hills, Toni Storm, because come Dynasty, we're going to be crowning a new women's champ.
Yes, and I want to point out what the point Brent made here in the chat about the video Thunder. All right, I'm mixed feelings about it because, and I want to know your take on. There's a lot of great after show promos or after match promos that are like exclusively online. They're social media exclusives. And I'm kind of 50-50 on it because I'm with Brent. Like there's some I'm like, why didn't you show this on the show? And I understand you got to cut for time and what have you. But on the other side, it's making good use of social media. True. Because it's kind of like, hey, you want more background, you want more story, go online. I mean, how many? If you are able to complain about the lack of storytelling in AEW on social media, then you should be able. That means you have access to go find these stories on social media. And the promo, the dark, like here comes an ass whooping promo that Thunder Rosa. I mean, it was almost Joker-esque. I
That's
think
kind of how I felt too with her makeup all smeared. I kind of got that Joker vibes as well. So maybe she'll lean into that. But I love the promo. I loved her staring at herself in the mirror and then turning to the camera and just really getting fired up and staring into our hearts at that promo. Really, really fantastic stuff. The benefit of those are, yes, we're getting more and more of those. Almost every match you seem to have those additional social media promos. However, the announce team and the production team does a great job of re-airing them on future episodes, and
Yeah.
so they'll be like last week, and then they'll air them on a
rehash.
Collision, or they'll air them on the next week's Dynamite. So I think it's just almost a buffer for the team to, in a limited program of 2 hours, which is a tight 2 hours, you know, if you have these great promos, that gives you ammunition to kind of build off next week's show. You know, you can, those who follow it online can see it, and then those who didn't see it online can get reminded and see it fresh the next week.
There was a segment that was aired on TV that was interesting. And again, even with only one women's match, and before I do that, we got to check the counter, because there was something else that happened. And yes, there's the counter.
Okay, so it's all right. Hot take coming in hot.
It's going to be a hot take coming in here very soon. Just want to make sure everybody's aware that's the countdown before. But I did want to talk about Mercedes Moné and her pearl necklace.
Yeah.
She apparently she's interviewing Alex Marvez. Lights go out, and then suddenly she's on the floor moaning in pain. I think some people that didn't know what was going on, all they heard was Mercedes Moné moaning and clutching her pearl necklace. They might have got the wrong idea of what we're watching. But I noticed there was a backstage, another one of the backstage interviews with Stokely and a Chris Statlander, who has been wearing a lot of black lately.
Okay.
And the two of them are being interviewed by not Dasha, somebody that's not Dasha. I'm just going to leave it at that. But behind them was Mercedes Moné's her dressing room. They clearly made sure in the shot that Mercedes Moné was in the shot. Go check it on social media. Go to AEW on Twitter or X, whatever. You'll see that they made sure that Mercedes Moné was in the shot. I think we're going to find out that it was Statlander that layeth the smackdown on Mercedes Moné.
All right, so there's the photo there. I'm going to look this up for live in person. But yes, there's the promo. I mean, we found out on social media if you follow her, but also the announce team, they were saying how her first match is going to be at Double or Nothing.
Yep.
So she's going to have a title match versus whomever that may be. Let's see where.
While you're looking up, I want to point out something. I think that was a slip up. I think what they should have done, they shouldn't have said that her first match is going to be Double or Nothing. They should have kept that like she got really injured here. And that she was going to have a match next week, and then she got beat up, and now her status is unclear. And then that, pulling because I think one of the frustrations is, here's this debut, but now she's not going to wrestle for another month or so. And
I know
it's tough because she's great, but she's got to impress people quickly, or her stock is going to run out. And I think that I think what should have done is if she's not cleared to wrestle, or if she's not going to be able to wrestle to Double or Nothing, they could have used this as, hey, she was about to wrestle somebody else. She's about to wrestle maybe like a Willow for a number one contender, or she was going to do something, and then she got beat up and now, or concussed or something, and now she can't be cleared until Double or Nothing.
Right.
You could have played this whole storyline.
True. I think that would have been a good idea.
But yeah, I'm pretty sure it's going to be Statlander and Stokely involved with this.
I think I'm all for that. I think you're really going to be changing the landscape of that branch, as I've mentioned before, different branches of the women's division, it was fantastic. We never used to have that. We had kind of one linear path of the women's division and a couple things sprinkled here and there, but you have two strong branches of the women's division with that TBS title picture. And then you have the AEW Women's World Champion picture. And I think that's what's really strengthening the division. And so with what we saw, Mariah May, who's on Team SPD, get the victory versus Anna Jay, and then the debut, or then that post-match shenanigans, and so that adds a whole nother layer to what's going on. And so I was like, what to me, I didn't know who that was. I didn't know who came down to the ring, and I was I'm like, what is going on? I have no idea what's going on. So thank you for informing us. I'll have to go back and start to do some recon of what's going on. I don't know. The photo is not there. It is.
Yeah, that's
this
why
could
I
be
always,
a point where they turn on Tony Storm or what?
Yeah, I think that's going to be the love triangle also. But it's going to factor into Tony Storm losing the title. She's going to be a wreck. And then, Mariah May's got this love triangle thing going on. And I'm this is why sometimes I don't, on one hand, there is this whole, I hate it when people go, who? Like Vikingo versus Kenny Omega, and everybody's like, who? Just look them up. I mean, it's not hard to find. But on the other side, I think that there needs to be a little bit more developed on the show of when you do something like this. I think sometimes Tony or Khan assumes we are as big a nerds as he is about wrestling, and not everybody is. Like they'll introduce, he'll have a big announcement, and it's McGillicuddy Spaghetti Jones, from he wrestled in Oklahoma, New Japan, Old Japan, and nobody knows who it is, and then I have to pause sometimes and go, all right, here's the deal. This guy, he wrestled this, he was blah, blah, blah. And I think that's sometimes a problem. But oh wow, look at the counter. It's about to go. Uh-oh. I think we're ready for it.
Yeah.
Are we ready? Ari SPD, ladies and gentlemen.
Sorry, I was just responding to our to the BC over here.
I think it's time for us to roll that footage. Here we go.
All right, hot take time. Let's do it, baby.
Hot take time.
This is.
When Tony Khan brought CM Punk back to wrestling after 7 years of who knows what, that was an epic moment for everybody. It was arguably one of the biggest pops that AEW has ever seen in pro wrestling in a long time. AEW brought a lot of people back to wrestling, including myself, got my wife interested in it. AEW also brought CM Punk back to professional wrestling. Go back and watch the first dance and the things that he said. Those were words spoken from the heart. CM Punk truly believed those words, and he seemed to be AEW's number one champion. So, what happened? You see, I don't think Tony Khan had any way of knowing what was going to happen with CM Punk. Punk's presence exasperated a lot of the already existing challenges that AEW has. But I don't think it was intentional. I think that was Punk being Punk. Now, social media was fired up. I mean, one can't deny airing that footage certainly got a lot of people tweeting. Now, a lot of people are chiming in with their thoughts, and some people were saying that this somehow proves CM Punk right. But what does it prove that he was right about exactly? I mean, I listened to the interview, and I mean, he left out some key details. CM Punk would have been right if in the interview with Ariel Hawaii, or whatever his name is, if CM Punk said, I need help, I have anger management issues, I messed up, I'm sorry, then I would have been fine with that. Then I would have said, yeah, I agree. CM Punk could have taken the high road. He didn't. So people are upset with Tony Khan for not taking the high road, but somehow we cheer CM Punk for doing that. Some people are saying, well, we didn't hear the audio. What did Jack Perry say that got Punk so fired up that he would do that? Does that make it okay? What Punk should have done is he should have had his match with Samoa Joe and then have a sit down with Tony Khan, Jack Perry, and talk this out. and perhaps legal, what have you. But instead, he chose to get froggy right before his match with Joe. And if anything, it's unfair to everybody else they're trying to put on a show. Should AEW have aired the footage? Should TK have allowed this, made this happen? Well, they did, and one could argue that it was unfair to the other people that appear in that footage, besides Punk and Perry. But what's done is done. And, there wouldn't be any footage if Punk had made a better decision in the first place. And Punk actually is the one that brought this back to the surface with his Ariel Hawaii interview. You see, it's kind of like a breakup. And breakups are ugly, and sometimes things get really messy. Could it have been done differently? Yeah. But it's done. Let's not chastise Tony Khan's decision to show the footage while also praising Punk for quibbling about it during his Ariel Hawaii interview. He didn't have to. He could have just told Ariel Hawaii, I'm not going to talk about it, but he couldn't help himself. So, what now? Let's take a cue from Punk's friends FTR and move on. Let's move forward. And if you want to yell at Tony Khan and get mad at him, then let's focus on the biggest mistake he made this past week. Bring Dasha back, Tony Khan. That's right.
All right.
I am angry at Tony Khan. He made the biggest mistake this past week. Biggest mistake of AEW history. He got rid of Dasha. Bring Dasha back. Tony, come on. We need Dasha back.
I agree. She was always fantastic. Excellent ring announcer. And I know you guys met her in person, so a fantastic person based on your guys' firsthand experience. So hopefully, you never say never. People have come and go. Look at people. So hopefully, cross our fingers. But shift back to the topic on the hot take here. So that's a lot to digest. We kind of saved this for the middle of our show because we know this is going to be a deep topic that we want to address. I mean, you can't not address it. And then move on, I mean, well, move on to an extent, because to me, you had a lot of great points, a lot of really thought out points that, the whole thing would have never happened if Mr. CM Chump didn't just keep love running his mouth and stirring the pot, man. Everywhere he goes, he stirs the pot. I mean, that's what makes him so controversial in a good way and a bad way, in a challenging way. But all in all, I mean, I got a lot to say about this. However, I don't think airing this was a bad decision. And I think them airing it and the way they swerved it into the storyline, which packaged the whole promo with Young Bucks and FTR that we saw right away, and later in the show as well, later with the Okada match, I think it played into it that much more. And it really... it wasn't just like a jab, like a retaliation, even though it was a retaliation with CM Punk. So what I got to say, so CM Punk, I am so glad for the time he had in AEW that he contributed. It was some of the most fun AEW moments with excellent feuds. And he did fantastic. And it was great to see him out of retirement. It was great to have him get out of there. And as you mentioned, one of the biggest pops that we've probably ever heard in AEW, period. Yeah. I know Hangman had a pretty big one with his build and his slow build and all that. But with the CM Punk one, it's electrifying. I rewatched his debut time and time again when that happened at the First Dance. And so props to that, and props to Tony Khan and the team for getting him out of retirement. However, this was not the first incident that happened backstage. You had the Muffin Gate, you had other ones, you had different things. So clearly there's some kind of trend going there. However, and then I'm kind of bouncing all over the place because this is loaded. For him to resurface things like this for no reason, not necessary. You could just say, next question. Like, what's the benefit of resurfacing something? You're going into WrestleMania weekend in your new company. Like, live on that high. You guys just sold 200,000 plus tickets over the weekend. That is huge. huge for wrestling in general, period. Doesn't matter what company you are. Like, just go for that. Go for the positivity like we do at DD. You know, you live that up. Like, but you have to, you know, stir the pot, you know, cause the drama. You're not wrestling, so might as well cause the drama. So if I was Tony Khan and we're team AEW as we are, I would have done it. I would, you know, you have this ammo essentially in your back pocket, and you're threatening my company. You're threatening my baby. You're threatening my family for no reason. So you know what? You're gonna crap on it. So I'm gonna show you your true colors.
I think that was a true Katie bar the door moment, and be honest with you, because if he didn't do something, if he didn't come with that, I think it would. And people have mixed feelings. I think a lot of people just want to move on, and like you could tell, Tony Schiavone wanted. There's a lot of people just want to move on, and I think the important part, of course, is at the FTR promo that came after that is key, and I think that's the future. But if he didn't, think about if Tony Khan didn't do anything, then a lot of these haters would have been calling him a pansy. How come you didn't, you know, how come you didn't do, oh, look at it, you just go, and it's one of those things where, you know, are you going to let lies just kind of sit there and, you know, and just kind of float out there?
Tell me when I'm telling lies.
Yeah, well, he said, you're right. He said it himself. Tell me when I'm telling lies. Okay. But here's the other thing too. And we're going to upload, there's a 10-minute version of my hot take, because I go into a lot of stuff, my dime store psychology. I think that I think CM Punk means well. And I think things were beautiful at first. You know, the fact that Tony Khan brought CM Punk back from wrestling. And if you go back and watch his promo at that time, he really was inspired, really excited. But I think a couple things happened. And as I think CM Punk means well, he's got a huge heart. I mean, just Larry's, you know, the fact he's, you know, got Larry with him is huge. He does a lot of good things, but also I think he is kind of a narcissist. And that, you know, a lot of times when you call someone a narcissist, obviously there's a lot of negative connotations to it. But what it really is it's an inability to find your own faults. And it's from the standpoint of all these situations, CM Punk is either the hero or the victim. He's never the villain. I've not heard him say my bad or that was my fault. Now maybe he has, but I've yet to hear that. And I was gung ho about CM Punk. Full Tilt Deb, she's from Chicago. She was loving it until Muffingate. And when he just was ripping the backstage folks on the scrum, you know, to me that was a poor time and place. Now, I said earlier in the hot take where I was talking about that I think some of the CM Punk stuff revealed some opportunities for improvement in AEW. Let's remember, this is still a young company learning its ropes. I think there is a need for communication. I think that one of its weaknesses is there needs to be some, hey, this is not acceptable. And Tony Khan is such a nice guy that it's almost to a fault that I don't think he wants to be the bearer of bad news. He doesn't want to hurt people's feelings. I'd rather have a boss like that than a jerkwad boss that's, you know, mean. But I think that there needs to be like a liaison, and I think he tried to do that with Tony Schiavone, but some of this stuff could have been nipped in the bud before. But CM Punk, there's no excuse for CM Punk doing what he did. You can argue, if you argue that, oh, well, we don't know what Jack Perry said. Jack Perry could have called AJ Lee a dog, and that still wouldn't have warranted the reaction that it did. You know, there should have been a sit down. It should have been handled much differently. People are getting on, I didn't see Tony Khan fear for his life. CM Punk can't have it both ways. He can't brag about, I would have killed Jack Perry if they didn't break it up, and then act like, Tony Khan was never in danger. Well, you can't have it both ways. If you're it wasn't like he just kind of pointed like, and Tony Khan, you're a meanie head. No, he went for him, and if he would have gotten to him if he hadn't been pulled off. And I love the fact that, but who looks the best in this whole thing? Samoa Joe to me. Because Samoa Joe grabbed him like there were two kids fighting at the pool, and he just went rock.
Yeah, I think never once did I feel like this was a bad decision for AEW. Yes, I was, excited for this to happen in almost I hate to say like you have to defend yourself, but you do have to defend yourself. This, like I said, this is your company. Like, and I loved we can talk about it momentarily after this, the Osprey promo as well. Like, you're a family, you're a band of brothers and sisters, and you're trying to succeed. And then when you see jabs and people talking smack about your company or this, like, yes, WWE is this empire. AEW is this, they're the 300. They're the 300 warriors against the whole Roman Empire, and so they're fighting and battling and scratching and clawing, and they're working their way based on how long they've been going. WrestleMania 40 just happened. We're in year 5 or 6 of AEW, so it's hard to it's industry pro wrestling, but it's still like they're making such a huge splash in many ways, and so it's like I would do everything in my power to defend what I've invested in, time, money, emotionally, everything. And then if you have something like that to kind of, silence, Mr. Straight Edge CM Chump, I was for it. And so I think AEW made the right decision in the way they swerved it, and the way they transitioned it into a feud story versus just kind of like a boom gotcha thing. I think was very smart and well done.
I think it was very well planned, and then having FTR come out with such a great promo. I mean, I love Cash Wheeler, but Dax can cut a major. I think Dax's promos are almost as good as his chops. I think that's definitely it.
That's saying a lot.
And the only thing I want to say, and again, I touch on this in the extended that we're going to upload later, is that it makes me, the whole situation makes me sad, because I feel like it could have been, it's a big blemish on something that brought me back as a wrestling fan, brought you back, brought Punk back. Right. But the whole, in general, I don't understand people foaming at the mouth, wanting AEW to fail, because AEW's existence, with all its flaws, with not being perfect, AEW's existence helps WWE. It not only helps WWE from a competition standpoint, it makes them make some decisions like, wow, we really got to step it up. We got to make our story. Look at the product now. Look at the storylines now with Cody and with all the, with R-Truth. I love it. Him joining the Judgment Day stuff is hilarious. There's a lot of WWE is becoming a product worth watching again. Plus all the wrestlers know each other. They're friends. Ricky Starks was there watching, cheering Cody on. There's WWE folks backstage. The Bailey and Naomi were backstage at Mercedes debut, and I think Tamina was there. They all know each other.
Right.
But the other thing, the really big thing that the wrestlers love about this, and if you love to care about the wrestlers, this gives the wrestlers negotiation power. It's not WWE or bust, WWE or TNA. And even TNA is rising up. Their product's getting better. You've got Ring of Honor. You've got, there's so much opportunity out there. And what that does is elevates a lot of the indie wrestlers up. And therefore that creates more opportunities for indie wrestlers on the independent scene.
Right.
Tiffany Nieves, who is the Mission Pro Wrestling champion, now also is with NWA. We've got at the Mission Pro Mania, you've got the NWA wrestlers taking on Mission Pro tag team.
Right.
There's all this independent opportunity, and it's wrestling's popular again. Wrestling's awesome again, and that's driving up ticket sales everywhere. So wanting AEW to crumble, wanting it to go under is silly to me. It's goofy to
ridiculous.
Think like that. Anyways, that's just my rate. Maybe that should have been my hot take, but I just think it's goofy to want AEW not to succeed, because it is actually benefiting so much of the wrestling landscape, including WWE. So
I tuned into WWE strictly because of former AEW star Cody Rhodes. And so he's bringing me over to see WWE because of his work. And then that kind of segued into, I dabbled in these two, this feud and then this feud a little bit. And I'm like, okay, all right. Why can't it go both ways without having someone like CM Chump, drag you over the coals nonstop? because that's all he can do. Anyways, the Young Bucks did a great job with their backstage stuff in, hyping it up and leading into it. I thought it was fantastic. This side of the Young Bucks is really, really great stuff. So I think that they were able to deliver this special segment very well. The countdown throughout the show was hilarious, and I thought it was very well done because I was very curious of when are they going to air this, when they air this, and they have the countdown to it to make it seem like a bigger deal or a big deal, which it was. And they're always looking dapper as always with the Young Bucks. So great stuff out of these guys, and it really is adding that extra element to what's going to happen at Dynasty between them and FTR, which we saw later in the show with the Okada match coming out to just a complete utterly beat down EVP trigger and all that. So rocking the scapegoat shirt. So I think I love both teams, but I hope Young Bucks win, get the belts. I think it was, at first I was like, they should beat Sting and Darby and, be the champs and just really get some mad heat. But now I'm like, I'm so glad they didn't, because you were calling for a tournament, which it's been great. Loving the tournament so they can lead up to an ultimate culmination for new champs, because no one's defending you. You're just crowning new champs. I think you strike while the iron's hot and have Jack Perry show up at Dynasty, essentially helping the Young Bucks win the tag team titles, and then having the new elite be expanded and standing strong.
I'm with you.
There's
I have one difference. I have one twist.
What's the twist?
Okay, because Young Bucks scapegoat, they're all pro. I do like the trio of Okada and the Young Bucks. And
I do too.
I want to keep it a trio. Here's my thought: is Young Bucks win a Dynasty, and it's all kinds of crazy shenanigans, whatever. But we build
Cleaner
up
with the help of Jack Perry.
No Jack Perry yet. They build this back up, and then I think Okada comes in and does something. I don't know where I'm going, whether this happens at Dynasty or they parlay, because I'd love to see the Young Bucks and FTR continue all the way to Double or Nothing,
Sure.
And then have FTR win at Double or Nothing. I think that would be great. However, I think it would be compelling if all this time the Young Bucks think Jack Perry's going to side with them because they're kissing his butt.
Oh,
and he sides with FTR.
Man, he's invested so much in that heel character, though. So it's like,
I don't know, but it's given him an edge. I don't know. I could be wrong, and you're right. He is kind of really going heel. But wouldn't that make him wouldn't he have finally kind of shed that whole Jungle Boy persona if he did that? And then the seal of approval from FTR, who are known to be CM Punk's buddies, to side with him and to and lead by example. Hey, we're moving past that mess now. What a great way to show that we can break bread with the guy that got in a fight with our best friend and team with him to take on the elite.
Maybe eventually, but I think you got to really, really just dig into this heel, because he's getting some mad heat. And I honestly thought he was done with AEW, but the way that they're doing these hints, the Young Bucks, and wearing the shirt and saying things, during their entrance and stuff like that. I hope that Jack Perry comes out with a hoodie on, smacks someone with brass knuckles or whatever it may be, a certain weapon. Maybe some muffins or whatever it may be, and then FTR loses, the Young Bucks win, and you just get some really, really, really crazy heat on these guys.
I think so too. I think you're right. I think that's
might be number one overall when we do our expansion draft, which is after Dynasty.
Mm-hmm.
Jack Perry could be. He's going to be in the mix, I'm sure.
Yeah.
If Brent doesn't take him first overall, SPD might be taking him second overall.
Well, here we got to talk. I think we could talk offline about how we want to do the draft. I think we got to give the leftover taker and Bobby, first shot at.
Should we go from last place to first place?
I think we should. maybe,
Okay.
and then do something. Not who knows. By the time we get to after Dynasty, Leftover Taker and Bobby might be kicking all our asses. So
we got 4 hours of TV left in this week, so
absolutely
a lot of matches that haven't been announced on Collision, and or Battle of the Belts. Only 2 matches have been announced for that as well. So, but I want to talk about the main event as we're starting to wrap things up. Samoa Joe versus the natural Dustin Rhodes, man, an absolute warrior every time he's in the ring. This guy is true, tested, battle tested, and love watching him in the ring. He's a great storyteller. He's one of the best promo guys in AEW. He can deliver such a fire promo and hype up any match to absolutely top-notch level. Love the stuff that he does every time he gets an opportunity. And he delivered once again. He had the promo in the show. He had a great match. They told the story about, shedding blood. As much as SPD doesn't love the blood, but they told the story there with shedding the blood.
Yeah.
So I was looking at the comments there. But Samoa Joe, man, standing tall, and just really, really hyping up for what we're going to be in store for Dynasty. And before we talk about that, what do you think of this match and the way it turned out?
Well, I want to talk. I do want to talk about the finish as well, but this is one of those things where, Dustin's kind of like a break glass, stick him here, and he's going to do an excellent job. Like he at the spur of the moment, he cuts that promo. I don't know if it was motivated, Cody's doing his story, and Brent was actually made a comment that what if Dustin won?
Oh my God.
And how compelling that would have been if he won the Eliminator match and then it was somehow going to be a 3-way at Dynasty and, all this kind of stuff. But
right.
No, I think it's one of those things where, Dustin's he's a go-to guy. His matches his matches are different. He for a guy his age to go. And I think a lot of times he gets overshadowed by the Stings and the Billy Guns because he's also, he's really done a great job leaving that Gold Dust character in the dust. Anybody that knows his personal story too, it really makes him he's such a more 3-dimensional character than even he portrays on the screen. And I think that he does deserve his flowers. He does deserve his gold at some point. But he's one of those guys who can plug in. He could really go. And again, a veteran like Samoa Joe, the two of these guys, they know how to put on a show, and they know they know how to make Dustin is really good at in-ring storytelling. He's one of those guys that you could book him at a day in advance, and he'll already have a whole match planned, and even on the spur of the moment, he knows how to sell for the crowd and really, really go. So now, again, did I have any thought that he was actually going to beat Samoa Joe? Not until Brent put that in my head. But other than that, I was like, oh, that'd be kind of cool.
Right.
But again, it's one of the things that AEW does very well, and I don't think gets credit for in general, is these matches where you pretty much know who's going to win, but they might not. As you start watching the match, you start to go, wait a minute. And right. I think occasionally, AEW needs to pull that trigger and really have a holy crap moment where it just really throws everything out. Not this case, but can I point something out though? I want to share something.
For sure.
The aftermath, this was what I really, really liked. And this is one of those things where I feel like, I don't know if you can see, but Swerve tweeted this out earlier today.
Oh yeah, it was great.
And this was from last night, and his "I don't get here without you."
Yeah, and I love that.
I think that is, again, if you really want to see how important Dustin Rhodes is to AEW, and Dustin also tweeted, somebody asked him, "You need to leave and go to WWE," and he says, "Nope, I love it here." But that to me is the acknowledgement, of Dustin Rhodes from Swerve, and I feel like Swerve speaks for the locker room. I'm speaking on my ass. Who knows? Maybe they all hate Dustin. I don't think so. But I feel like Swerve and them. That's kind of he's speaking for the locker room, and there's a little bit of Dustin now invested in this thing, and I love Samoa Joe, but it's time for the Swerve dynasty. I think at this point, it's time
I agree.
to.
I think Samoa Joe is such a compelling champion, and I think he's done a great job in a short amount of time. And I do almost wish it was a longer run. However, when you have the rise of someone like Swerve Strickland, you really need to capitalize on this. And this is Swerve Strickland's time. This is it. This is his opportunity to shine. I mean, he's crawled and got his way to the top, and he absolutely deserves it, man. I think everything he's got the total package, and you see him raising the belt here at the end of Dynamite, and that's going to be the story in, under 2 weeks at Dynasty, in my opinion. It better be, or else we riot. Or else we riot.
Yeah, Swerve wins, or we riot like this. We swerve when we riot. We swerve when we riot. And Nana is the MVP too. I mean, he'll swear. One of the best moments was it last week when he was like worried about Swerve getting beat up, and he's doing the little soft,
always in character. The end of last week's show was really fantastic between him and Samoa Joe. I love the way they were telling that story, and then just continue it. I'm curious of what's going to happen next week with the final Go Home Dynamite and show with it, because I'm ready. The way Swerve signed his contract in blood. Oh gosh, that was so compelling. So great.
Good stuff.
I know we're almost out of time for our Dynamite Download episode, but I have to ask you, I know we talked about a pre-show. We saw the trios match. What do you think's going to happen? First off, it's great. Got to say, as a Dynamite Download original, or a fan of, or we've been a fan of him at Dynamite Download from very, very early on. The Governor back in AEW. It is so fantastic to see. We are pro Governor all the way. This guy has got limitless potential. A lot of fun to watch always. He had some great feuds early on. So to see him back in the ring with Shane Taylor Promotions, STP, almost like STPD, great pairing, and I'm glad to see them with the win. However, the big story was, Jericho and Hook, Lionheart Jericho, Jericho Hook, Lion Hook, whatever it may be. What do you predict? What were you were gonna tell me? I said, wait for the show. What do you think is gonna happen with this? How do you think this is gonna play out between Jericho and Hook?
I think they're first of all, I think that they're actually playing Jericho. Jericho is good at reading the crowd and kind of seeing what's going on, and Jericho's actually twisting one of his biggest criticisms. And they've been actually playing up the storyline for quite some time, but he's actually playing up one of his biggest criticisms, and he's turning it into a work. And that's the Jericho factor, the Jericho shadow, whatever you call it. The way that he is like, the storyline now is that you got to do it my way. And, like in his history, it's always been, I mean, heck, that's what Proud and Powerful were upset with, is that, hey, you kept up, you instead of letting us go for the tag teams, you and Sammy went for it. Keeping Sammy the whole storyline is that Jericho keeps you, like, he uses you to advance his career. And I think that's what the storyline is with him and Hook. And I think eventually what's going to do is play into a little more with Jericho and Hook feuding, and like Jericho may cost Hook a match or something like that. I'm not entirely sure. I also think, Shibata, by the way, I love Shibata's his translator gimmick is tremendous.
So funny.
I think it would be funny if there's a gimmick where Jericho tricks Shibata into accidentally betting on wrestling, and he gets in trouble for it. And if if it's a baseball reference. But I think I like Shibata. I just right now and it's weird because I think a lot of it's tribalism. I think a lot of it stems from that Nick Houseman mess when he was bringing up the thing that happened in 2019, and we don't know what happened there, but I think people like to take sides before they know all the facts. And there's a lot of people that like to hate Jericho for a number of reasons that aren't related to wrestling. but I think that there's I think he's turning into the heel. But the coolest thing here is Shane Taylor Promotions has been getting they've been jobbing so much, but now with a go-go, they've got some beef to them. And my only complaint with them is that I want a Go-Go's music back. His music was a banger. Instead, it's got the Shane Taylor thing. What booking by Mindrunner, and we'd love to get booking by Bonds' thoughts back on here. But I think what we need to find out is I think Shane Taylor Promotions needs to start to go on a little bit of a roughshod now. And I think that we need to find out that they have a benefactor. That now that they were able to bring a go-go over because there's a benefactor that has that is now running things for Shane Taylor Promotions, and that's the Kingpin Keith Lee.
Hey,
I think we need
that would be fantastic. You had the Kingpin Keith Lee.
I think the four of them.
I would love to see this trio's really shine. So my gripe sometimes is when you bring a re-debut or someone back from injury or whatever it is, push them, make it seem like important. And so far they have with this. And so I think a go-go, I would like to see them at the minimum somehow get the Ring of Honor Trios Championship. And so at the minimum of that, and then go from there. But I would love to see a nice little mini run there. So we'll see. I mean, we got Shane Taylor versus Hook, Battle of the Belts. We got Lee Moriarty versus Shibata on Collision. So the feuds are there. We're going to see how it's going. Maybe we'll see a Go-Go, his first singles match coming up. So hopefully. But I wish Go-Go was the one who threw that knockout punch. Last night.
That was weird.
So known for his knockout punches.
I was wondering if that was supposed to be him, but he was in the wrong position or something, because that's his thing. And that's the story. Like, the knockout punch should have came from a go-go. And that would, I think that would have been
on your ace in the hole who you just recruited to really just be a dominant force. Anyways, all right. BC, you want Lee Moriarty to wrestle 3 times a week, so you're going to have an MVP on your team.
Yes.
But we're going to wrap things up for tonight's show, episode 122. Thank you all for joining us in the chatting with us and hearing all our hot takes and a lot of fun of the last night's Dynamite. We'll be back next week for episode 123. Plus, we'll also be doing our preview show sometime just before Dynasty.
Mm-hmm. And tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern, live. The Dynamite Club Gold, where it's the Mission Pro Control Center. We are chatting with Calientita. She is the spiciest new up-and-coming wrestling sensation, straight out of Hybrid Wrestling for Mission Pro. She's been dominating. She's been crushing it, and we're gonna be chatting with her and find out her upcoming match with that she's having at Mission Pro. It's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be muy spicy. She's taking on London Dior. It's gonna be a great chat, and man, we're 9 days away from Mission Pro Mania, 10 days away from Dynasty. A lot's going on. That's why you got to hit not just the subscribe button, but you got to hit that notification button, because you never know. We might pop up and do a surprise debate about Punk, or we might do a surprise extra draft.
Fights and Flights or something.
Fights and Flights is coming back. We might get a wild hair and just go on a live discussion about something. So make sure you hit that notification button. Thanks, everybody. It's been awesome, and we will see you next time.
Tomorrow or next week?
Yes.